guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome back to the Recast. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, MonstersReview. How you doing, Monsters? Oh, that's great to hear, man. I'm so glad. It'd be a real shame if someone's audio was missing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monsters is actually here, though, right? Monsters.
Right.
Unless
that was a bit.
Unless there is a tragic audio malfunction, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We are also joined by our good friend Nikki, the Imaginative Artist.
Hi there.
So we are here to talk about The Lion King and The Lion King 1.5. We've also got a little bit of news. We've got a question, and that's it. And I guess probably some other casual conversation in there as well.
Awesome.
Before we get to anything, I will mention last week we did have a little bit of an audio slip up. Our guest audio was unfortunately non-recoverable, and I always do a backup. Okay, I always have a backup recording. Like, I record myself, and then I have a separate audio channel from the audio input, the audio output, which would be the monsters and whatever guest we have. When you know it, the 1 week that our guest audio was not good was the same week that I forgot to it was not on the right setting, and I only caught it 10 minutes in. If I didn't catch that, I don't know what we would have done, because we recorded that. That was the latest recast we ever recorded. We recorded that on Friday,
right.
and we got that out Sunday.
Right.
So it could have been a lot worse. I mean, we had a really good discussion, I think, and so I'm very happy we were able to recover it, and Leia was able to actually be with us last week.
Yeah.
We're gonna try our best not to have that happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you guys doing today? How are you, Nick?
Oh, I'm just doing peachy and stuff. Funny enough, today I saw the new Wreck-It Ralph movie. It was pretty good. I didn't think it was good as the first one. I like the first one's narrative, but I really like the ending for the this new movie here.
Wait, Wreck-It Ralph 2 is out?
Yeah, it's out today. I went today with my sisters.
Oh,
wait. Maybe it's just because it's Thanksgiving week, but usually movies open on a Thursday or Friday, not on a Monday or Tuesday.
I guess Disney didn't want to crowd Thanksgiving holiday.
Huh. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We're talking on Sunday. Sunday is the day that this is happening.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
I didn't just say 2 minutes ago that we record these a few days in advance. Nope. But I'm glad. So you enjoyed it overall?
I did.
Don't spoil anything.
I'm not spoiling it.
Okay.
That'll ruin the fun.
I don't need to hear what Sonic's lines were.
You're gonna die.
I sure hope it wasn't "Gotta Go Fast."
Funny enough, he did not say that. I can tell you one thing. He did not say any of his catchphrases, which is weird.
I may or may not know a person who said they were going to go see the movie based upon Sonic being in it and nothing else. That person may or may not also be a guest previously. Oh, goodness. I also heard that you were in a video that came out this week, Nikki.
That's true. So if you guys are a fan of the recast, Kuro the artist was on here, and we decided together, I think you jokingly said, oh, you guys should do a collab together, you artists and stuff. And you're like, that may be genius. So slammed into on Kuro's door, or DMs if you kids say these days. I was like, Kuro, let's collab. He's like, yeah. And we're like, okay, what should I do? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know either. And we're just stumped on what to do. And we were we had news of upcoming Disney remakes, coming on the horizon, the Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds gonna be possibly in a new part.
Oh no, yeah, no. We'll talk about the Deadpool.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it was and we started talking, and I was like, dude, let's talk about new ideas for Disney remakes. So that's what the main video was about. About instead of talking about why Disney should not be making remakes, why not talk about new ideas of what Disney can do? Instead of just rehashing popular films.
We don't know anything about that.
Rehashing what?
Newfangled idea.
Next, you're gonna tell me that they're gonna make a Lion King rehash.
Oh, that's a knee slapper.
Dude,
pie.
I would be so upset if they made an Aladdin remake. Or Dumbo. Oh my god.
Oh dear. Oh no. Well, if your favorite film Song of the South, you're probably safe. Oh,
Or that
goodness.
one where a bunch of lemmings jump off a cliff.
Oh, yes, Disney should remake the documentary where they forced animals to die, creating a stereotype with that poor species.
The good old days in the 1950s where there's no regulations.
Just as old Uncle Walt wanted. How are you doing, Monsters?
I'm doing good. Thanksgiving is on the horizon. By the time this podcast is out, Thanksgiving already happened. So, yeah, Thanksgiving was great, guys.
Hypothetically, allegedly, possibly.
Hopefully, yeah.
But, Monsters, if your Thanksgiving went tragically wrong, you got to edit something in now. Just like,
Will do.
Just like Uncle Sam choked on a chicken wing and died. That's what you get for serving chicken at Thanksgiving, I guess. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. Monsters.
Yes.
Isn't there someone you want to ask how they're doing today?
Oh,
So, Pie, how's it going?
Why, thank you for asking,
I
Monsters.
forgot again. I can't believe it.
No one remembers. No, sometimes the guest remembers. Monsters never remembers to ask me how I'm doing. I'm doing all right. I'm having a good week.
Awesome.
I had some Taco Bell the other day.
No way. What's your favorite thing to get on their menu?
With Taco Bell, usually I just get whatever the $5 box is because, like, usually it's good. Like the fries they had, or the I think they had quesarito a while back. But like usually it's good.
Right.
It's $5. It comes with a drink, comes with chips. It's like the Cinnabon snacks sometimes too, and a taco. This time though, I wanted to try like the double XL stuffed burrito or something. I didn't end up actually liking it because it had beans in it. But I tried a soft shell, not Dorito, soft shell. Ooh, they should make soft shell Dorito Taco Bell tacos. But I tried a soft shell Taco Bell taco for the first time, and it's great. The thing I hate about Taco Bell tacos is that they just fall apart. Like you take one bite and the whole thing just crumbles into nothingness. It stops existing. But with the soft taco, it's still like all the same flavors. It's just like, you know, it stays. You get to eat it instead of taking a bite and then having it explode on you. So
this is an unpopular opinion, but Taco Bell is like my favorite fast food restaurant.
Dude, that's not unpopular. Well, it's not unpopular on the recast. On the recast, we're looking into getting sponsors. So Taco Bell, listen, if you're if you want to think outside the bun, then just hit us.
We don't want to backstab Olive Garden.
Oh, that's true, but Olive Garden's a fine dining establishment. Taco Bell is our fast food place. No, I love Taco Bell too.
Olive Garden treats us like family, and Taco Bell just treats us like drifters.
Taco Bell's cheap though, so they got that. Olive Garden does not have that, aside from the free breadsticks. All right, well, this is every week. I'm just gonna talk about what random fast food thing I ate, and this is my life, guys. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Just create like a playlist of videos of like food reviews, you know?
Like when I was a freshman in college, so 2012 or 2013, I made a video talking about Chipotle.
Once we switch over this podcast to talking about food, Rehash will have a new meaning.
We'll be the refried beans podcast, and we just talk about Taco Bell. It's the
refried regurgitation.
The rehash, refried rehash. Oh God! All right. Well, anyway, we have cartoon stuff to talk about. I think maybe. Actually, no. Well, we do, but before that, I wanted to talk about like 2 weeks ago, we asked people to give us feedback on like if they liked the longer episodes, because our episodes just kind of kept ending up being 2 hours. I don't know why, because we had like an hour and a half rhythm going, and then we got too comfortable, I think. And after the 10th episode, and then like every episode since has been like 2 hours, and pretty much everyone aside from I think one comment I saw was like, yeah, 2 hours or more. They're like, yeah, it's a podcast. Like I always could use more to listen to while I'm driving or whatever. And so that's cool. I will say I do know that like that's probably a little bit of confirmation, or not confirmation, but a little bit of bias, because the kind of fans that would comment are the fans that are going to be like the fans that are the most into it, you know, or the ones that hate us the most, I guess. But like the more casual fans that drop in, drop out are probably going to be the ones that would appreciate shorter episodes. So you know, we're still going to be conscious. We're going to try not to go too long, but we're glad you like the 2-hour episodes because that's just kind of how we've been flowing lately. Anyway, we're going to move along to the What We Watch segment. And as I hinted at last week, we all watched something. Well, Monsters watched it like a long time ago, like 20 years.
I've also seen it more than once.
Right. You're like a super fan. You have a poster of this allegedly.
Right, I do.
All right, sausage part. No.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. But yeah, me and Nikki 2 weeks ago we watched The Disaster Artist, which is I know it's not cartoon related, but it is technically like on the spectrum of kind of like rehash. In that it's a documentary. It's not a documentary.
Biopic.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, it's an autobiography. It's an adaptation of an autobiography. So, you know, I mean, kind of autobiography because you know.
You mentioned like it's